To each and everyone, especially to our instructor in human behavior and victimology. So, my chosen chapter is chapter 4, which is entitled Introduction to Victimology. So, the term victimology is not new. In fact, Benjamin Mendelssohn first used it in 1947 to describe the scientific study of crime victims. Victimology is often considered a subfield of criminology, and the two fields do share in common. Just as criminology of criminals, what they do, why they do it, and how the criminal justice system responds to them. Victimology is the study of victims. So, victimology is very important to the citizen and especially the people in our society, but not just that only, because it can also help to the law enforcers or the police and criminal justice system to help the people in society far from risk. Then, the study of etiology, cause of victimization, its consequences, how the criminal justice system accommodates and assists victims, and how other elements of society, such as media, deal with crimes victims. Victimology is a science. Victimologists use the scientific method to answer questions about victims. So, what I have said a minute that answerable by what, how, and why. For example, instead of simply wondering or hypothesizing why younger people are more likely to be victims than are older people, victimology conduct research to attempt to identify reasons why younger people seem more vulnerable in crimes. So, in chapter 4, there are 9 specific topics. First is critical victimology. Second is general victimology. Third is penal victimology. Fourth is radical victimology. Fifth is victim blaming, victim facilitation, victim precipitation, and lastly is victim provocation. So, the first specific topic is what we call critical victimology. So, what is critical victimology? So, it relates the incidence of victimization with social groups in society and seeks to point out how some social groups such as women and poor are structurally more at risk of crime. Homeless people living on the street, for instance, are more likely to be victims of crimes than the general population. So, why are homeless living people are more highly at risk than the rich people? Because in their situation, they cannot go in school to educate themselves. So they don't know what will be the consequences of what will be their action. So the very rich are structurally at risk of crime also because they make an attractive target to those seeking to profit from crime. Yet, they are not of significant interest to most of those taking an interest. Example of critical victimology is the young and rich man walking in the street, and he is from the bank, withdrew her lot of money, and she walked and he walked in the street, no bodyguard or something. She is only one. So the criminals are planning to target him to get his money. So he gave an opportunity to the criminals to commit that crime. Second specific topic is general victimology. So general victimology is the study of victimity in the broadest sense, including those that have been harmed by accidents, natural disasters, war, and so on. So this kind of victimology are those victims are not intentionally put themselves at risk. Example, in Typhoon Yolanda, there are a lot of people victim there, and all of us are affected on that. So the third specific topic is penal victimology. So what is penal victimology? It is an approach to victimology from a criminological or legal perspective where the scope of study is defined by criminal law. So what is criminal law? Criminal law is the body of law that relates to crime. It prescribes conduct perceived as threatening, harmful, or otherwise endangering to the property, health, safety, and moral welfare of people, inclusive on oneself. So, example of this victimology is Jose has a punishment of life imprisonment because of what he has done. This study focuses on his injuries and damages that result of his done criminal activity. The fifth specific topic is radical victimology. So what is radical victimology? So which argues that the current images of victimology, which involve the state rather than the victims, serve a conservative crime control agenda and have increased the power of the state in criminal proceedings. Radical victimology can be used to explain social reactions to crime and crime victims, and to explore society's preference of truly innocent victims and limited preferences. So, the example of this is the judge criticized clearly the crimes and the crime victims before giving the final judgment of that said crime. The sixth specific topic is victim blaming. This occurs when the victim of a crime or any wrongful action are held entirely or partially at fault for the harm that befell them. The study of victimology seeks to mitigate the prejudice against crimes and the perception of victims are in any way responsible for the actions of offenders. The historicals and current prejudice against the victims of domestic violence and sex crimes. So, example of victim blaming is Angelica is a greater tendency to blame victims of rape than victims of robbery because the victims and perpetrators know each other prior to the commission of the crime. The seventh specific topic is victim facilitation. This occurs when a victim unintentionally makes it easier for an offender to commit a crime. A victim may in this way, be a catalyst for victimization. So, example of victim facilitation is Scarlett who accidentally left her purse and plan view in her office while she went to the restroom and then had it stolen would be a victim who facilitated her own victimization. The eighth specific topic is victim precipitation. So, what is victim precipitation? It is defined as the extent to which a victim is responsible for his or her own victimization. The concept of victim precipitation is rooted in notion that although some victims are not at all responsible for their victimization, other victims are. So, example of victim precipitation is when the offender and the victims are just acting to commit the crime. The ninth specific topic in chapter 4 is victim provocation. So, what is victim provocation? Occurs when a person does something that incites another person to commit crime or an illegal act. Provocation suggests that without the victim's behavior, the crime would not have occurred. Provocation then the most certainly connotes blame. For example of this is Brian acting harmful way to his friend because his girlfriend are dating with his friends. The last topic is technology crimes. I choose this in chapter 6, which is personal and property victimization. So, technology crime is use technology to attack others in committing crimes. As a technology becomes high-tech, the criminal also become high-tech to commit their bad action and punishable by law. Example of this is Natasha hacked other accounts and other banks to commit what his plan. So that's all about my 10 topics. So thank you for watching and God bless.